In this video, I'm joined here with Ivan on Tech, and this interview is going to be mind-blowing because Ivan, he thinks that Ethereum has the potential to flip over Bitcoin and reach $100,000 per Ethereum. And we will also talk about the fundamentals of Ethereum, why Ethereum matters, and what the future looks like when we look at DeFi, Ethereum, banks, and how all of this plays in together. You cannot afford to miss this interview. Watch it from the beginning to the end. And guys, if you think that this sounds interesting, then I think that you should definitely watch this video. Hello guys and welcome to the moon. My name is Carl and I will bring you this cryptocurrency video and this interview with Ivan on Tech. I think most of you already know who he is, but Ivan has an amazing channel and I would love to know, Ivan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks a lot, Carl. And so good to be on your channel. The last time we did collaboration, it was actually here in this very studio. And I love your community, man. I love your channel. I watch your channel all the time. And I love also that your community is very educated. I see that you're posting these different comments where people make gains. That's so amazing to see. So yeah, you're doing a good job. Your community is doing a good job. And it's a big honor to be here with you and discuss markets, crypto, ETH, DeFi, whatever you want. I'm here.
Very cool, very cool. I know, yeah. So I think everyone knows that my channel is very focused on Bitcoin. And of course, you focus on Bitcoin as well, but you also have a lot of knowledge in like Ethereum, DeFi, programming, and all that stuff. So I will definitely pick your brain about that towards the end of this video or this interview. But first, I want to just talk a little bit about Bitcoin. I mean, we all see that we are entering into this next big bull cycle. And I think it's quite obvious to everyone that the hype is starting, like the mainstream will start to jump in, and it will be very interesting to know what your longer term target is for Bitcoin.
For sure. Yeah. So I'll just show the viewers the market cap right now of Bitcoin. It's very small, guys. I mean, right now market cap of Bitcoin is just 600 billion. Okay. It's nothing. You look at the gold market, approximately 10 trillion. So just to reach gold, we need to do not 10x. If we do 10x, it's going to be 6 trillion. We need to basically do 20x just to reach market cap of gold. And then, you know, Bitcoin is so much better than gold. That's another thing. When you look at the potential of Bitcoin, you need to look beyond gold, because gold, perfect, you can store value, you cannot really move it, you can just hodl it in your basement or in some kind of bunker. There is paper gold also you can invest in, but the thing is, Bitcoin is gold and all the different payment processors combined, because you can move Bitcoin, you can pay with Bitcoin, you can transport Bitcoin, you can store Bitcoin yourself. You don't have to pay for security when you're storing Bitcoin in the same way that you need to pay for security when you're storing gold. So really the long-term potential of Bitcoin is gold market cap plus all the market caps of PayPal, Visa, everyone, basically everyone who is moving money. So that's also included. And also everyone who is securing, you know, all the security that is needed to even handle gold. That's quite important. And of course, Bitcoin, you also have custody. So there is a portion there involved as well with security, but that's long-term. So we are looking at least 12, 13 trillion, which is 20x from here, where we are just at 600 billion. Okay, now of course, whether we're gonna go there in this bull market or in the next one, that's a big question. Probably we will not go there already this bull market. Maybe I'm not visionary enough. I mean, some people, I think DaVinci J15 thinks that we're gonna go to 1.2 million already this year or something, and maybe that will happen. Look,
video popping up here where he makes this crazy price prediction. Yeah,
but the thing is, you can never be too bullish in crypto. Whatever you say, you're more likely to be correct if you're bullish. So you can never be too bullish. But this year around, I'm just thinking about how much we pumped during past bull markets. So past one, we went from 1K to 20. So that's a 20x. In 2013, we did 100x. So 2013, 100x, 2017, only 20x. So maybe this time around, we just do 6x, maybe 5x. So that would be approximately 100K, because the last all-time high is at 20. So 100K, 150K, completely reasonable. But also, it's important, as we discussed in our video, by the way, we just put a video on my channel as well, that you have to be here for the long term, but we will have a bear market. I also think that we will have a bear market, and you need to have a strategy. And by the way, the Moon shared a very nice strategy on how to handle bear markets on my channel, if you want to check that. But to summarize, all in all, with 12 trillion market cap long term, at least short term this year, 100K. to 120, maybe 200. That is what I expect for Bitcoin to do. But look, maybe it's going to be Da Vinci, 1.2 million. I would love Da Vinci to be correct.
Yeah, I know. Da Vinci is very bullish. I think we're definitely going to reach 1.2 million, but I just think we're going to need maybe 5-10 years for this to happen. But you touched on some interesting topics there because, yeah, Bitcoin is, if we compare Bitcoin with gold, we can see many similarities. But of course, Bitcoin is actually better than gold in so many ways. First of all, it's divisible, much more divisible than gold. I mean, you can divide Bitcoin into 100 million parts. It's the most divisible money that the human race has ever had before. So that alone is a fantastic development or a fantastic like revolution in money. And then you have the portability and all of this stuff. It's just amazing. You can store it in the cloud. It's amazing. But then also you talked about like the bigger market for Bitcoin and how Bitcoin can soak up value from like gold and whatever. And I think that we should also take a look at the fact that there's a lot of value in the world, a lot of like economic energy stored up in assets where people are simply looking for a place to store wealth. For example, real estate. Many people, they don't buy a house just to live there. They buy it because they want to store wealth. Because if they store dollars in a bank account, they lose money through inflation. So people get pushed into these assets like real estate, stocks, and whatever. And even just buying an index like the S&P 500, of course, it's not like these people care about every single individual stock there. They simply buy it because it's a way to store wealth while looking for a better opportunity somewhere. So I think that there's probably tens, if not even hundreds of trillions of dollars out there that would be able to jump straight into Bitcoin if they just knew that there is a liquid store of value like Bitcoin where you cannot inflate it. So I think 1.2 million is actually not even possible. It's even very likely, and I think we can go higher than that. But I like your prediction here. 100,000, in my opinion, that's what I think as well. I think it's even quite conservative, right? Anything can happen. But let's go towards maybe some Ethereum talk as well, because you know a lot about Ethereum. I see your videos sometimes. You talk about Ethereum, and it's very, very insightful. Please, can you educate our community a little bit about like what is happening to Ethereum and what are your price targets for Ethereum for the next year in this bull cycle and maybe even long term?
Yeah. I think Ethereum in particular has so bright future in front of it because most people still haven't understood it. And even within crypto, you have a lot of people who still think that Ethereum is a scam. It's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists who say that, hey, it's a scam still after years and years and years of insane performance and also insane use cases. So that's why Bitcoin is undervalued globally because a lot of people are still not in crypto. They don't even know Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is still quite fairly understood within the crypto market. Basically, everyone who is in crypto, they like Bitcoin. It's very few people who don't really understand the importance of Bitcoin. But ETH is undervalued in a bigger way in my mind because even within crypto, many people still don't really appreciate how big it is. And just to show the viewers an important thing, right now we do see DeFi potentially getting bank charters. So this just came out today that DeFi protocols potentially gonna be integrated with banks, and the national bank charters might one day be granted to DeFi protocols. We do see banks now allowed to use stable coins, which is of course very, very compatible with DeFi. I think it's a part of bigger puzzle. But to come back to your question, we have to consider the size. I always like to compare the size of the potential market. So with Bitcoin, I told you it is 12 trillion based on gold and based on different companies that store and transport value across the world, because Bitcoin has both of that. Now with Ethereum, you have to look at the use case, and the biggest use case is decentralized money markets, decentralized capital markets. If I want to borrow money, I want to lend money, I don't have to go to my bank because my bank knows that they own me. They own me. They decide which interest rate I'm gonna pay because I don't have a lot of choices. I can go to their competitor, but it's a cartel, so they're gonna give basically the same interest rate, maybe a bit lower, maybe a bit higher. But you see, this is the big revolution because now we do have global capital market, global capital market for lending, for borrowing, also for derivatives. Here's where the big value in Ethereum comes in, is derivatives. Because while Bitcoin might go to 12 trillion based on gold, and store of value globally is approximately 15 trillion, 20 trillion, you can say, globally, store of value, how big the market is. Then you compare to derivatives. That's 600 trillion, all right? And derivatives will always be big because people want to speculate, people want to hedge different bets. It's an important part of capital markets, derivatives. Now, Ethereum, in my mind, will take a big chunk of the derivative market. And to have derivatives on Ethereum, you actually need to back it by ETH. That's the big power of Ethereum and of the asset ETH. It is not to pay for transaction fees. Many people think that ETH, it's the use case is to pay for transaction fees on Ethereum network. And while it's true, it's only a small use case. The big use case is that ETH is collateral for derivatives. You want, for example, to take Bitcoin into Ethereum blockchain, which we have different projects doing right now. Many of them are backing the Bitcoin with ETH. So you can have a synthetic Bitcoin basically on Ethereum. And ETH, the asset, will be the most important asset for backing different derivatives on the Ethereum network because it's the most secure asset in terms of risk. Yes, there are many different assets on Ethereum. There are stable coins, there are many altcoins, but only ETH has the lowest risk because it's the native asset. So that's quite important. And that's why I think we could potentially already in the next few years, maybe 2020, 2021, see ETH at 50K. It might sound insane. How can ETH go to 50K? But in my mind, it could 100%. Also, looking ahead, just based on the derivative use case, the fact that we might see a market of 600 trillion at least getting 10%, maybe 15% of derivatives into ETH, then we're easily talking about 100K plus for ETH. I know it sounds insane, but this is like speaking about Bitcoin a few years ago as well. But you have to be visionary. I mean, why are people in crypto? Why are you in crypto? Why am I in crypto? We're here to see the long term potential. And for such an innovative asset as ETH to go to 100K, it's not that impossible. It's not that impossible. Look at Tesla. Tesla did basically 8x last year. And here we are talking about that ETH will do 100x over the next couple of years. I mean, I think it's completely reasonable because the power of ETH is so much bigger than power of Tesla. And the Tesla did basically 8x just in 1 year last year. And it was already so big. So anyway, that's how I see Ethereum. I think it's one of the biggest things that most people still don't understand. And most people they don't follow these developments because all banks will have to adopt DeFi on the back end. Otherwise, if you don't adopt DeFi, you're not part of capital markets. It's like not being part of the internet. You cannot allow your customers to use your services in a good way if you don't offer your services through the internet. The same thing, if you don't offer your money services through DeFi, your customers will never experience the global market. You will have always worse interest rates. You will have always more slippage if you do trading. You will also have not as liquid markets. So all the whales, all the big money will be in DeFi because there's no alternative. It's going to be this global money pool, global money market that all banks have on the back end. Banks will still exist because somebody has to still educate people. We're so far away. I mean, most people who are alive today above the age of 30, they will not use their own wallet. I don't see it. I think it needs to be like a whole generational change for people to only use Ledger and only use hardware wallets or their own wallet. So this whole generation that is above 30 today, most of the people, I don't think they will be able to. I mean, even you and I probably are we're very young, but at the same time, when you look at will our generation even be able to everyone have their own Bitcoin? No, people will use exchanges, they will use banks, but it's just that on the back end, there will be DeFi in my mind for all capital markets and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. I do have one interesting question that I'm actually thinking about myself a lot because I'm also bullish on Ethereum. I hold Ethereum. Some people think I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but I'm holding Ethereum, so I'm not sure if I fit the description of a Bitcoin maximalist. But I also have this kind of fear in my mind that sure, Ethereum is looking very, very healthy now in terms of adoption, the network effect, and most people are using Ethereum rather than other protocols. But is there a risk that there will be something else in the future that will be like Ethereum, but better than Ethereum, that could take over Ethereum? I already know that the argument against this is that, of course, it's just like Bitcoin. It has a network effect, and no one can just create a new Bitcoin and just take over. But is there a difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum here? Does Ethereum have a bigger risk of getting overtaken by another protocol? Let me know what you think about this.
I mean, we've seen people try for years and years, even since day one of Ethereum, there's always an Ethereum killer around the block. the same thing. Since day one of Bitcoin, there's always a Bitcoin killer replacer around the block. Could it happen? It could happen. MySpace was replaced by Facebook. Bitcoin could get replaced. Ethereum could get replaced. Now the thing is, with Ethereum, you have an insane network effect, not only because of adoption and just storing the asset, but building. That's maybe the most important strength that Ethereum has. That if I'm to build something, I don't have any choice. If I want to build some kind of dApp, some kind of money app, I have a new idea where people can lend money to each other, and I want to use DeFi protocols, I have to use Ethereum. There is no other choice. People with money have Ethereum. No other blockchain has wallet adoption or money adoption like with ETH. So if I build something, let's say on some kind of other blockchain, nobody's gonna use my app. They don't even have my wallet. They don't even have the wallet of those blockchains. So Bitcoin and Ethereum by far lead everything else because they have the most wallets. People know how to use their wallets. People have funds in the wallet, so you can actually use the different applications. So this network effect of Ethereum is becoming stronger and stronger every day because when you have new apps deploying, new apps building, they build on Ethereum because it's in their best interest. It's in the best interest of the users. And here's where we see that people don't really care that much about transaction fees. Of course, it's not good that ETH has transaction fees that are high, but if I'm to choose, if any developer is to choose, they're still going to build on ETH because that's where everyone is. Now, potentially in the future, we might see Polkadot, we might see Cardano, we might see something else. It might happen, but it's like replacing Amazon. How do you replace Amazon? It could happen. How do you replace Google? It could happen. Of course, it could happen. So there is always a risk. Nothing is for certain. And that's also why...
Can I ask? So, this is something that maybe you can answer because honestly, I don't have the programming expertise to understand this, but what if there is a future where we have Ethereum and we have Cardano, we have all of these different protocols, and they are kind of interconnected to each other, and maybe it doesn't matter if you choose one or the other because they are interconnected in a way where it's like a web of is this like a potential scenario where you don't really have to choose because they're all kind of working together?
Yeah. So that's what I hope will happen actually, because for Ethereum to scale, there either needs to be layer 2 or interoperability for sure. And whatever will happen at that point will be very, very key because as you say, it could potentially be that ETH as asset is not as central anymore because you have all of these other assets, and maybe there will be a basket of assets that is kind of the most important low risk asset in that future where everything is interconnected. That could happen, especially when we speak about ETH as being this asset that is used as collateral. So that's for sure. And at that time, of course, the future will be very, very different. But right now, ETH is basically the only low risk, asset for collateral. Low risk and also basically the only asset you can trust 100% on the Ethereum network that could be used as collateral for all of these different use cases. Now, in a future where all of them are interoperable, it will be a different future. So in that case, we will have to reevaluate the potential for sure. But we're not there yet. That's the thing. And will we ever be there? Let's see. The problem when you have interoperability is that it's never as good as everything in the same blockchain. There's always some kind of bridge. There is no composability. So when I say composability, I mean that you launch an app on Ethereum, it works with all other apps on Ethereum. You can transact between them. So in an interoperable future, there will be bridges probably, just like you can take Bitcoin and put it on ETH through synthetic assets. So while I do understand your concern, and probably it is a valid concern at that point in time for sure, but practically, it's like thinking 10, 15 years ahead right now. And what will happen then is like thinking about what will happen to Bitcoin when the miner reward is run out. Yes, it's a concern. Will we be able to secure transactions when there's only transaction fees? Hopefully, but it's just so long into the future that for now it's not even relevant for the next years of potential in the asset. So with crypto, I don't think you can look, especially with ETH and altcoins, you cannot look more than 5 years, 10 years ahead because everything is developing so quickly. With Bitcoin, you could look more ahead, but with ETH, you need to look 3, 5 years into the future because beyond that is too uncertain, and that's also the risk reward because with Bitcoin, the risk is lower, but also the reward is lower. The risk is lower. Why? Because we see that now funds are investing. Everyone now thinks that Bitcoin is amazing. Everyone, institutions are here. So of course, it's less risk, but also less reward. The same is with ETH. It's more risk, it's more reward. So that's how I see it. And always in crypto, you have huge risk. For example, we do see Tether. What will happen if Tether is complete scam? They need to be shut down. We don't know. Maybe Bitcoin will pump because all Tethers need now to go into Bitcoin. People will be panicking into Bitcoin. Who knows? It's a big risk, but also the reward in Bitcoin is so big that that risk is worth it. So in all assets in crypto, there is huge risk, but that's also why we're here. Otherwise, if crypto is already huge, if we already have mass adoption, everyone knows that Bitcoin is amazing, everyone in the world knows that ETH is amazing, what will happen to the price? It will be high, it will be stable, there will be no opportunity. You already missed the boat. You should have been here right now when it's high risk and high reward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that answer. I agree. There is probably, well, it could be higher reward in Ethereum, but also bigger risk. But this is why I like Bitcoin so much, because you have such low risk. I don't see any big critical threats to Bitcoin. So you don't have a big of downside, but the upside is so incredible. That's why I hold more than 90% of my wealth in or in Bitcoin, but 99.5% of my wealth in crypto in general. I'm confident.
But that's interesting that you say that, Carl, because in my mind, Bitcoin is high risk and also high reward, at least for the coming years. Maybe if you think about 50 years ahead, then Bitcoin is low risk. But in the coming years, there might be so much FUD. Let's say the US, they think, man, all of these funds, they buy Bitcoin, they don't hodl the dollar. Dollar is now losing relevance. They could come out and say, hey, everyone who owns Bitcoin is a freaking criminal. Now, of course, the argument against that is that they will not be able to implement it. It's global. The US does not matter. But imagine what that will do to the price. It will be very significant. So from a speculation perspective, just coming few years ahead and thinking about the portfolio, in my mind, Bitcoin is also risky because we're so early on and so much can happen. So that's, and especially the biggest threat I see is regulatory and not long term. I understand that long term is global. Nobody can stop it, nobody can regulate. But short term, EU comes out, US come out at the same time, let's say. They say, hey, everyone who touches Bitcoin is a criminal because it's dirty, money laundering, this, and they will always have a nice reason, which is garbage, but they will always try to convince the general. I mean, what will happen to the price? And that's the most important thing. Most people are here for the next few years, mostly to see the price go up. I mean, we do see a lot of people saying that they're also here for 50 years ahead, this and that. But I think if you ask the average Joe, it is basically, I hope it pumps until next year, because most people cannot.
I understand. So what I think is that, of course, there is risk with Bitcoin. I'm not saying that there is no risk. In the short term, these things can happen. But what I'm saying here is that, let's say you put in $1,000 into Bitcoin. The only money you can ever lose is $1,000. But I really believe that like 50x, 100x for Bitcoin is very, very easy in the next few years, within 10 years, easy. So this means that if you put in $1,000, you could potentially make $100,000, but you can only lose 1,000. So you have this big difference between risk and reward. And that's what I'm saying here, that keeping my money in Bitcoin makes so much sense because of the ratio between the risk and the reward. And I think Ethereum has probably a similar risk reward ratio, but not as attractive as Bitcoin, in my opinion, because I think that the risk, I think we all understand that the risk is higher in Ethereum than Bitcoin. I think you probably agree. But maybe the reward is higher, like you were talking about there. But still, I think that the risk-reward ratio in Bitcoin is more attractive than any other crypto that I can see in the world, because I think that, in my opinion, I've said many times on my channel, I think that most cryptos are going to go to zero. And I'm sure you probably agree as well, but we also know that there will be cryptocurrencies that will do very, very well in the next few years. I think Ethereum is most likely one of them. Maybe Cardano, maybe one of these other ones. But in my opinion, I think Ethereum has the network effect. So that's why I am in Ethereum. I don't hold other Ethereum killers or whatever. I hold Ethereum and a few other coins that
that's fair. That's fair. That's also what I said. ETH is risky. Bitcoin to me is also, as you also say, it is risky. But what we like, I think we agree there, because I also said that ETH risky, Bitcoin risky, but I also said risk reward. That's why we're here, and that's also what you said as well. That it's only the reason why most people are here is risk reward. You want to be early in a new thing. It could go to hell, but the risk reward is so good that we're okay with the risk. And that's something that, because, you know, many people on my channel, for example, sometimes I see, oh, Ivan, what will happen to Tether? You know, it's a huge risk. Why is nobody talking about it? But I think many people understand it, but it's just that most people also who are here long term, they understand also that it is one of the risks we have. We have to handle it, and the reward is bigger. So there's no need to panic. I mean, if you cannot sleep at night because you're worried about Tether FUD, you haven't evaluated risk reward, because yes, it's a risk, and you should kind of be okay with this risk if you are in crypto, because overnight we can have some severe price action in all directions. You remember in March we woke up, Bitcoin was down minus 43% in Corona. It was crazy. So from a risk reward, yes, we're here for the big reward, and you should be okay with the risk, I think, if you are here, because otherwise your psyche will be absolutely destroyed. You will not be able to survive this industry if you don't understand the risk, and you're okay with the risk, most importantly.
Yeah. Exactly. So final question before we wrap up. I just wanted to go back to you said $100,000 for Ethereum is possible, but you also said $100,000 for Bitcoin, 150,000. Do you think that Ethereum can reach the same level, or do you think that when Ethereum reaches 100,000, Bitcoin will be at 1 million or something?
I think so. So this may be a bit controversial, but I do believe ETH has a good chance of flipping Bitcoin, because it came so close in 2017. You look at ETH versus Bitcoin market cap; it came so close, and the future for ETH in market cap is bigger than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is store of value, and you look at all the store of value market cap, gold, real estate, whatever people put their money in, there's good statistics online. How big is store of value market? It is approximately 20 trillion. All store of value. And what I said about ETH is that it's more towards derivatives, and that's orders of magnitude bigger. So, and also that's why the risk reward in ETH makes sense to me, because as you say, it is more risky than Bitcoin. So of course, market cap potential needs to be bigger for the risk to be worth it. So I do believe that ETH has a very good chance of flipping Bitcoin in market cap. Maybe it will be already this cycle. If you look right now, it's still I mean, man, it's not that long. It's 640 billion is Bitcoin. ETH is 121. So basically, ETH right now is 20% of Bitcoin. And over time, I do expect this gap to close. Potentially already this year, we might see ETH at 70%. Let's see. Because I do expect ETH to outperform Bitcoin in this bull market. So let's see. But yeah, it is bigger risk and bigger reward when I think in those terms. So yes, potentially, I do expect ETH, not potentially, most likely I do expect ETH to outpace Bitcoin in market cap at least, yeah.
Very interesting. And if you're right, I will also be happy, because I do have Ethereum, like I said. Thank you for joining my channel. And guys, if you didn't watch his channel yet, I mean, probably you did, but go and subscribe to his channel, link down below. And thank you so much, Ivan. If you have anything else to say it now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Carl. Big shout out to your community, great community, and hope you guys make even more gains. I see each and every day, like I said in the beginning, people making 5K, 7K, 10K. So I hope you guys keep killing it, and yeah, see you around. Amazing to be with you as always, doing videos together.
Perfect. Thanks so much.